And welcome back, folks. Today we are going to take a look at the 300 West block of Superior Street in Duluth, Minnesota. And this is a collection of buildings. We'll be looking at 4 separate buildings today. Now just sit back and relax. This is going to be a whopper of a narrative buster. And we begin today with the Lonsdale building, built in 1895. And the Lonsdale was supposedly built in less than 1 year. And she was built supposedly as a 5-story building of brick and granite from St. Cloud, Minnesota, all the way on the southern part of the state. She is decked with terracotta trim, floral and garland panels, and crowned with an elaborate cornice. And folks, do you see how detailed she is up here? Do you see the ionic columns? And can you see that detailed inlay between the windows on the top floor? Well, anyway, the story goes, in 1906, they added 3 more floors. Yes, you heard that right. They added 3 more floors. Supposedly, they took the top floor, jacked it up, and built 3 matching floors below it, and somehow made it all match, and there's no discrepancy between any of the floors in age whatsoever, which is quite impressive if you ask me. I've never heard of such a thing. And on a side note, for some comic relief, here's where a pigeon hit my drone. And then we have the Allworth building, built in 1910 by famed architect Daniel Burnham. Now, Daniel Burnham was a busy boy around this time. In fact, he was still finishing the St. Louis County Courthouse a couple months over the starting date of this building here, which started on September 12th, 1909, and that other building had finished in October of the same year. That one had only taken 13 months. And this 16-story granite brick building would only take 8 months. Yes, you heard that right. 8 months. It was started September 12th, 1909, and supposedly January 15th of 1910, the flag was set on the flagpole, so the whole roof had been made within 3 months, and most of that being winter temperatures in which you can't even set concrete in this climate. Now, Daniel Burnham, not only was he 500 miles away in the city of Chicago, Illinois, but he was simultaneously working on projects all around the world. He was working on John Wanamaker's store, now known as Macy's, in Philadelphia from 1902 to 1911, and from 1908 to 1912, Gimbel's in Milwaukee. Not to mention the Ford building in Detroit in 1909, as well as drawing up the city plans for the city of Chicago in 1909. Now, in the 1960s, both the Lonsdale building and the Allworth building had combined lobbies and also applied the granite paneling on the outside of both buildings, making them look as one. Another interesting tidbit that I had come across was that this building, this 8-month to build 16-story building with all the detail that it has, isn't even mentioned in Daniel Burnham's bio. To make it even more comical, the Allworth building was the tallest building in Minnesota when it was completed. And there's that granite paneling I was mentioning. Now, on this floor, the marble was a different color, kind of a rust color. And look at the doors on the elevators here. And this was beautiful, and the closer you look, the more detailed it was. And what is that? Now, this little building was called the Moore Building. And here's the original entrance to the Tory Building. Look at how detailed and beautiful that is. And here it is now. And this is the Tory Building, built in 1892 in 1 year, of course, and is designed by Oliver Traffigan. And what's funny is both him and Hunt, the man accredited with the Lonsdale building, were both supposedly working on Central High School, which was getting done right now in 1892. And predating the New York Times building in 1904, which had started its New Year's ball drop, the Tory Building, supposedly in 1898, had a ball almost identical that was on top of a pole on top of this building, which was the tallest building at the time, and supposedly would drop every day at noon so sailors in the bay could synchronize their chronometers. But seriously, she looks like she's been burned in some kind of a cataclysm. I mean, imagine how beautiful it would be if you could see that red brick show through again with all that detail. And I'm still trying to wrap my mind around how in 1892 the city of Duluth, with about 30,000 people, needed to build an 11-story building like this, of course in 1 year, and with horse and buggy, but this was a critical when they had all the space in the world to build single-floor buildings. And the official history goes, U.S. Cavalry officer Captain Robert Augustus Torrey arrived in Duluth and promptly picked out a lot and constructed its first skyscraper, being this building here, the Tory Building in 1892. It's made of brick and brownstone from Port Entry, Michigan. Also, quite a trek, especially back in 1892. Now this will connect us through over to the Medical Arts Building. And this brings us to our main event, the Medical Arts Building, built in 1933. Designed by local architect Ernest R. Erickson, who I could find no record of whatsoever, searching for. And this is a 13-story Art Deco building built of limestone and granite. And I will be quoting directly from ZenithCityPress.com, a local historical archive and history book publisher. Workers broke ground September 1st, 1932. During the course of construction, some 600 men were employed, following a 3-shift day schedule. This was particularly remarkable when you consider that 1932 was the economic low point of the Great Depression. By Christmas, it was completely enclosed. On March 28th, Less than 7 months after work began, the Chamber of Commerce began moving into its new offices. Physicians and dentists were relocating on the 30th and 31st. The Medical Arts Building was declared officially complete May 1st, 1933. According to newspaper archives, the carvings are symbolic of the Indian medicine man of the Arrowhead region. Now entering the Medical Arts Building, you really notice the Art Deco themes. The ceiling is actually gold foil. And supposedly at one point, the doors, windows, and railings were all fine brass. And I also wanted to point out that on March of 1932, the Duluth Herald, while reporting on this building's grand opening, had said, quote, "Only doctors affiliated with and appointed by medical and dental societies were to be considered as tenants in this medical arts building." Kind of interesting. And let's be honest, folks. How can any of these historical narratives be true? All construction in the Midwest stops by mid-November at the latest and doesn't start until May. And in this area, it's even more extreme in northern Minnesota here in Duluth. And what do you think the truth of the matter is? Please leave your comments below. Thanks for watching. Please like and subscribe.